First segment. I'm not going to say anything that's like requiring any sort of extensive knowledge. It's not special. Not the splitting of any atom or anything. But this has been long about compliance, and that's it. See, I think the important thing, the important way to look at this is you got to try to pick up I don't want to say pick up the pieces. It's more like you got a big ass haystack and there's a bunch of needles, not just one needle. There's a bunch of needles in that haystack, but it's surrounded by, actual shit. So if you go through story to story, study to study, expert to expert, you'll find a little bit of truth, and then you got to try to patch it all together. That's kind of the state that we're at because everybody has their own individual agendas. So I'm going to put something on your mind about the COVID's nonsense. Let's go through what we know that has been confirmed, okay? So what's been confirmed is that the jab is not like a historical vaccine. It is, at best, a symptom mitigator. What that means is that the idea is that you take it, it lessens your chance of being hospitalized for COVIDs, and it supposedly lessens your chance to, of course, die from it by default, right? What also has been confirmed and what also must be taken into consideration is that if you get the jab, it is not let's say this, you are likely to still spread it. Now, I know when this initially became a thing, this jab, they try to present it as if, okay, not only does it manage symptoms, but they call them breakthrough cases, right? Where these infections are just that. They're breakthrough cases when you see someone that gets a jab and gets infected. So with the mere existence of the breakthrough cases, you already know that you can still spread it. The kind of the first domino that tipped was that Massachusetts studies that was alarming to the CDC because they found out that of the infected, the people that had the same amount of, let's say they had the same amount of viral load, whether they were vaccinated or unvaccinated. So that didn't matter. And then, so they had to pivot. They had to say, okay, well, it's a breakthrough case. Okay, when you're infected, yeah, it's not much difference. But to get infected in the first place, those that have the jab are more so likely to, let's say, not infect others. And then we saw what happened out of Israel. And we're seeing what happens now, even in pockets in certain states where we covered the other day. 25 to 40% of like these recent cases are all breakthrough cases, which ain't such breakthrough anymore, right? It's at this point, it's happening. You know what I mean? And that is that people are being infected and they're being hospitalized as well, despite having the vaccine. So that is happening. And you know that back in May, the CDC had stopped collecting that data on non-severe cases. So cases that weren't hospitalized or people that were vaccinated, hospitalized from COVID or dying from COVID, they didn't even want to keep up with that. You had to kind of rely on more local data. And this is why it's kind of crazy that they're all like, we're flying in blind. That was an odd decision to make then. It was almost like you knew the inevitable and you just simply didn't want to acknowledge it. So much for science, huh? So it's confirmation that you can get the jab, still get the damn virus, and still spread the damn virus. So that in itself and that existence nullifies all argument, neutralizes every single argument that they have in acting as if the unvaccinated are somehow the guys that are merely the driving force, because you can just as much spread it. They say that it's what they call it, the pandemic of the unvaccinated. That was the new script that got ran out on the last patch notes, updates that the NBC's got. Okay. So what does it mean now that you still, despite which we'll cover later, the CDC saying that at least 80% of people are immune to it by their guesstimations. What is the point of vaccine mandates and stuff of that nature? Just control. This is like burning a witch is what we're dealing with now. It's heresy. For you to be unvaccinated to them is just, you're not fitting into what their group preference is. Therefore, you must be ostracized. It's not rooted in science because, as mentioned, we just went through that. We just went through that. It has nothing to do with science, because you can't say that, well, you're putting other people in danger. You're putting people in danger just as much, or at least to some higher degree than what you initially thought, by being vaccinated and still being able to spread it. So it's just heresy. It's just like you're looking at us as if we're going against your church that you want us to be a part of. So at that point, it's a cult. And the fact that there are individuals that decided to assume their risk, you act like they're somehow putting someone else in danger, though the evidence and the science points to, no, you can be putting people in danger too. So why should you be able to do whatever you want to, but somehow the unvaccinated must be ostracized? That doesn't make sense. Makes no sense. It's just that they see that folks are going against their grain, I guess. That's it. It's it. That's all this is. Control. And yeah, there's some political stuff at play. We know that. We know that it's obviously in the pharmaceutical companies' best interest to continue to get people jabbed, because the government's going to then pay them for it. We know that. That's a part of it. I'm not going to act like that, like it should be absent of taking that into consideration. But I'm just saying, even if you don't even consider it in that context, at this point, it's just merely about control. That's it. They want you controlled. They want you to bow down, or rather give in to what they want you to do. And that's just where the buck stops. Okay? That's it. That's just all this is. It is nothing outside of that. That is all this is, because on the science, on the basis of science, all of their arguments, for the most part, have been completely neutralized with the recent studies that are coming out, with the examples of what's even even more so when you add to, which I almost failed to mention, with also the idea that these multiple studies that are proving that people that are going unvaccinated have if they have like natural immunity to it, they have more longer standing protection than people that are getting the jabs. Or better protected, rather. Considering that this is all a sham, man. So when you hear that see that blue check mark saying that they want to crack down on the unvaccinated, all this is that they don't like the idea that people didn't get it and they did, and therefore you're not a part of the group. That's all this amounts to. Now, people have drawn their social, political, and political lines on exactly this subject matter. And it's sad that it's come to that, right? You're an anti-vaxxer, even if you've gotten this vaccine, but you don't support vaccine mandates. You're still an anti-vaxxer. Like, this is all about just that. Control, and they want you to be a part of the group. So if you're not a part of it, you need to be completely ostracized. Vaccine mandates make absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever on the basis of science. It is just heresy at this point. It's just, you are going against their church, and they want you to be punished for it. That's all this amounts to. So this is why, if you wonder why I'm so rough with these guys, and I'm like, I call them all these names, because that's exactly what it is that they deserve. I am not going to pretend like these are good people. These are objectively bad people, and they are pieces of absolute shit. And they have been afforded hiding behind what they deem as more humanitarian efforts, what they deem as health science trademark. And they get to do whatever authoritarian bullshit it is that they want to do, and they hide it behind that. That's the mask, right? Science. It's all about science, though it has nothing to do with that. Maybe there's other emotional things at play. Maybe it's envy. Maybe it's, I don't know. They got coerced into getting a jab, and so they feel bad at the idea that there's people that have been able to hold their ground and not get it. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of all of that. But at the end of the day, it's just burning the witch. It's witch hunting, effectively, like actual witch hunting, in which they want people to be punished for something that isn't even happening, right? by their own data isn't even happening to the degree that they're saying, and they are just as liable. So all this shit about you're putting other people in danger, that's horse shit, because they're doing the same by their own metrics. But they don't care about that because that's not what it's about. It has nothing to do with science.
You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.